Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Hello, Matt. It's lovely to see you. I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. Well, it's lovely to speak to you again. You were on my podcast about a year ago. Was it a year ago? It
I
seems
think
like a little
I
while
think it was
ago.
more than a year ago, actually. I
No
think it was
way.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Time flies. Well, thanks very much for being a guest on our first live show. It's absolutely brilliant to have you here. So,
Pleasure.
just to kick us off, could you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Yes, so I'm Debbie Clement. I'm VP of Global Talent Acquisition for PAX8. PAX8 is a cloud software marketplace relationship management platform, and we help more than 600,000 small businesses turn their dreams into reality through the power of technology and using more than 37,000 partners. So we are a software business. We're 1,800 people strong now, operating in more than 17 countries and 20 offices.
Wow. And what's the kind of scale of your hiring? How many people are you hiring a year? What are you that kind of stuff?
I checked the stats last week, actually. We do I call them hiring cycles,
Okay.
because we do internal and external as well. So we're about 700 hiring cycles in a year. And we're just going through the headcount planning for next year, which is always an interesting process, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can understand that. It's a kind of crazy time in technology as well, isn't it?
Nuts, absolutely nuts. Yeah, I came in on your last conversation about the Klarna, which I saw last week. So fascinated about that and where it's taking us. All
Yeah.
sorts of questions. Who has the answers? I don't think anybody does, do they?
No, no, exactly. And are you seeing other conversations like that going on in the sector?
Yes, yeah, and
Mm.
of course we are ourselves putting AI products and services through our platform onto other businesses. And I was in meetings this week with partners selling those AI products to businesses, and they were saying things like they're not ready with their data yet. They need to have data cleaning AI
Mm.
stuff first before they go down. So same kind of problem that we're going to have when we move our HR and TA infrastructure into that. We're like, what data are we using? How?
No, exactly. I mean, as you say, it throws up a lot of questions that their CEO didn't really answer in their kind of PR earnings call
No,
that it came out.
no.
So, talk us through what are the kind of the big challenges that you've got at the moment in hiring or in your hiring process, or what's your kind of focus? What are the challenges that you're dealing with?
So, as a global organisation, we have just brought we've got about 90 people in our people operations structure totally across all the different areas, and we are moving to a new centre of excellence structure. So we've had 3 operating regions, and we're now going to a sort of corporate structure and assembling all of those in a centre of excellence. So we're going to have 3 regional HR business partnering, centre of excellence in the middle, and then also supported by employee experience and also the systems side of it as well. And I sit within the centre of excellence, which is talent acquisition, talent management, learning and development, and total rewards as well. So that's the
Fantastic,
M.
and I'll pick up on that again a little bit later because that's one of the things that we talked about on the podcast. That kind of that merging of different parts of
Mm,
the talent organization.
yes.
Before that, just a little bit about hiring, because I know you wanted to talk about de-risking in the hiring process.
Mhm.
What's your kind of take on that? What is your hiring process? How do you sort of make it the best that it can be?
So this is the challenge that I'm working on at the moment. So I was recently 8 weeks ago made the global VP of talent acquisition, and I'd come from the EMEA side of things. And when you bring 3 regions together, you have 3 different potentially ways of operating. So my question is, how do we make the most of our hiring process? How do we take the process that we've built in EMEA, which is very, very solid and very precision focused, and how do we scale that into America, for example, and then how do we take on the regional nuances of APAC as well? And there's some really interesting dynamics, like in EMEA, you might get 8 applications for a job advert. In America, you get 800 in 24
Mm,
hours.
mm,
So
mm.
applying the different scopes. So and it really goes down to what's the recruitment process. And I think from us, it's we've got 55 separate work streams in EMEA. Um, in Americas, they've grown organically. How do we take one and move it over to the other? But how do we accommodate those 800 CVs overnight? Because
Yeah.
the CV that is the biggest challenge I think that we're facing at the moment. How do you screen and how do you mine those CVs? How do you automate that? How do you make it really, really efficient, but not lose talent in that process? That's the thing that's keeping me awake at night at the moment. But yes, mapping the recruitment process, 55 separate work streams, who's involved. Um, and it's been interesting because I don't know whether anybody out there has a RACI, who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, who's informed for every single step of your recruitment process. If you don't have one of those, time to do those. You'll unearth some really surprising nuggets about where you've got inefficiencies, what's not
Mm,
working,
mm,
who's uncoupled from another space that makes things efficient. That where you've got process inefficiencies or process black points where you lose people in the process, that kind of thing. And does everybody really know what their role is? Is your service catalogue really tight? Do you know what your service levels are? All that kind of stuff. Do your TAs all interview in the same manner, in the same structure? And yeah, it's definitely not the case when you pull 3 regions together, which is quite interesting.
yeah. So what was that acronym again? Sorry, to talk us through that again.
The RACI,
Yes.
yeah, who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who's informed. So every single piece of your recruitment process, soup to nuts, 93 different stages potentially,
Wow.
55 separate work streams. Who does it? Who's responsible for what? And you'll see those handoff moments that get people lost, and especially big challenge in the pre-boarding and onboarding process. That's where a lot of things kind of tend to fall down as well. But up front, intake briefs, who does what, who does the job descriptions. Sometimes it's a real melee of, wow,
Mm,
it's everybody,
mm.
and but actually it's nobody. So yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
challenging
I think
stuff.
yeah, and I think the other thing as well is that, recruitment processes and people's view on what recruitment processes should be haven't changed for decades. So there must be this kind of these sort of legacy views that you have to deal with about how recruitment should be done and whose responsibility it is. And I suppose some of those are kind of unspoken, which is where some of the sort of inefficiencies and problems
Yeah,
might occur, particularly across different regions.
yeah. And I also did some presentations to some of our partners this week, helping them to recruit because they get the same problem. And the phrase I use is, look, most people have a process for filling up the fridge, building the cookie jar, putting beer in the fridge and the fruit basket. But no one has an end-to-end recruitment process. For many organizations, it's a smattering of activity. It's not a seamless handoff from piece to piece to piece to piece, and that is our problem. So when you get something that goes wrong, the diagnostics of understanding which bit is failing here. Is it the job ad? Was it the intake brief? Is it the resources that we're using? Are we using the right job boards? All of those kind of things. You can't diagnose really, really efficiently and quickly. And then the other challenge always is our hiring managers.
Mm, mm.
I'm perhaps generalizing, but I think generally management today is a lot greener than it was maybe 10 years ago. The
Yeah,
training
yeah.
and the investment in those managers, the experience just isn't there. So they don't always know what good looks like. And yeah,
Yeah, no, no, exactly. And I suppose the to kind of reflect back on what we talked about over a year ago on the podcast, you're talking about the recruitment process, onboarding, all that kind of stuff. Where does it stop? Where does that stop? Because obviously you're responsible for lots of different bits of things that would be seen as silos kind of in the past.
yeah, yeah,
How does that
yeah.
work together? How should people think about talent in a more holistic way?
Oh, well, we are going through a really interesting time at the moment. So we are about to lift and shift into Workday. Currently, we're on an applicant tracking system that's not moving into Workday just yet. I'm holding back. I'm holding back, saying we're not going there just yet. We're not
I'm
ready.
sure that will
So
resonate with lots of people listening, but watching even. Yes.
we, we've had one lift and shift from a lovely little platform called CoMeet into Greenhouse. That has been a major challenge. And then we're going to face another probably lift later on this year to go potentially into Workday. But because of the AI agenda, not sure whether we're going to go there just yet. Want to see how that's going to develop. But to your point about where does it start and where does it finish, talent partners, as we call our people, it doesn't stop when the hire lands in the seat. It's still going 6 months and a year later. Have they passed their 6-month probation?
Mm.
Have they had that first promotion in year 1? How are they impacting the business? What was their focal review? So we're looking at all those kind of things as from our talent partners, and that's the feedback. And they need that feedback because they want to know that they're always doing a good job. Otherwise, it becomes very transactional, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. From the, from the candidate to employee perspective, they're just experiencing one process, and if it's disjointed because of silos, then that's never a good thing for anyone really.
Yeah.
As a final question, just give us a vision for the future. What do you think? We've got AI, we've got all these kind of things going on. Where do you hope we'll be in a few years' time?
So I don't know if anyone read it was an article called "The Last Recruiter." It was from, I can't remember the name of the chap. He's very well known in the ERE space. Can't remember his name now, but look for
Was
the
it
article.
was it Kevin Wheeler?
I think it was Kevin Wheeler. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
did read that one. Yeah,
Did you read
yeah,
that one? So
yeah.
that's where I feel it can definitely go. Question in my head is, what if everyone could interview for every job that they wanted? Click to interview right here. What if every interview was a really personalized experience where the AI and the talent partner worked together to uncover the whole human and not just the half a human that does the
Mm,
job? Then
amazing.
wouldn't that be amazing? That's where I think we're going to go.
And let's hope so, because that is amazing. Debbie, thank you very much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely to see you finally in person.
Absolutely. Thank you.